Welcome back to Cutscene Confidential.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the fourth episode of Cutscene Confidential. I'm your host, Bentley Freeman, and today we're joined by TheSpartanCV, modder of everything Star Wars Battlefront 2. He has Battlefront Plus, the soundtrack replacement suite, a whole host of incredible mods. Spartan, how are we doing today?
Doing pretty good.
Awesome,
Hot
awesome.
outside, but so it
Yeah, we got hit with a heat wave up here, and it's actually been quite nice because normally it's just gray. But you want to know something interesting?
What's that?
In the last four episodes, everyone's we've talked about the weather, within the first 5 minutes.
It's a natural conversation.
Exactly.
Right?
It's something to bring up. It's like,
And it's that
you know,
time of year where it's like everyone's just unhappy with the weather.
Yeah. Oh, wow, it's nice out. But yeah, I gotta ask. Within Battlefront Plus, can you kind of tell the audience, those who are less enlightened in the modding community,
What would you like me to?
kind of like, what does it add? What does it change? Like, you have some balancing in there for Boba Fett. You add in some heroes.
All right, so um, basically just a massive expansion to the vanilla game is how we always looked at it. I feel like um, a lot of people, I guess, sort of idealized it as like if DICE had continued working on the game and was kind of allowed to do whatever they want, that this is more or less following in that sort of um, following that sort of philosophy, right? Um, so, I mean, dozens of new weapons, some new start cards, God knows how many new skins at this point. Um, Dozens of new reinforcements and heroes. Um, yeah.
I know it was also like a massive team effort. Like, a lot of different people kind of contributed to this project.
Yeah.
One being Blue Nade, and who else helped out with this?
Oh my God. I mean, uh, might as well just like read it off the website at this point. It was a lot of people, um, just contributing over the years. I mean, Blue Nade, I probably knew him the most out of anybody there, at least the longest. He was always behind the anything that was clones was him. Um,
Yeah, he made a great Commander Cody model.
oh yeah, and Rex is really good. Um, but gosh, I mean, uh, Mopheads obviously played such a big role in the tools that we used.
Bundle
Um,
management, yeah.
yeah, the bundle manager, the character duplicator are such massive conveniences. Um,
Let's dejargonify what is bundle management, and why do we need to duplicate characters in Battlefront?
um, the bundle manager. So every asset in the game is loaded in bundles. Like think of bundles as basically just a list of assets on a map or whatever. That part, like that specific area, I don't particularly understand with any real depth or anything like that because I got into the gameplay stuff after the bundle manager came out, and bundle manager just takes care of that stuff for me. Um, but more or less, yeah, network registries and bundles is just like list of assets, I guess, loaded onto a level. Um, but there are so many of these that you have to add your assets to, because there'll be You'll have one that's uh, this map in this game mode, same map, different game mode, and rinse and repeat, right? Um, Before the bundle manager, you'd have to go and add every new asset that needed to be in bundles and network registries. You have to go and do that manually. The bundle manager just automated that entire process, so it was way more feasible to create new characters and abilities and such. Um, and as well, there's also the gameplay merger, which allowed um, files like bundles and whatnot to be merged by the mod manager. So you could run those things together as opposed to having those get overwritten. Character duplicator is just more or less what it says on the tin. You select the character to duplicate off of as like a just as a sort of base thing to work with, and then you just move from there. Swap out the abilities and the appearance assets and blah blah blah. It's all very technical stuff, very boring to describe,
Right. But
but
the
very exciting
result,
when it was developed.
right? Yeah. Because I remember when those two plugins came out, there was just a cascade of all these different reinforcement mods and hero mods, and it was just so quick that like this floodgate opened. I think like I remember the Rebel
Yeah, I
Pilot
mean
and
that sort of
someone
thing
else.
wasn't
And
feasible before, and um, now it was, and it was very accessible.
yeah, it made I think modding a much more in depth because before it felt like oh that mostly just some texture mods and a couple of different things on arcade.
Cosmetic stuff, yeah.
Right, yeah, and then finally here we're getting Ahsoka and Ventress, and we're getting Captain Rex, and all these important, very well-loved Star Wars characters that Dice devs have themselves admitted that they were planning on adding. They just didn't get the time. So I think the description of it as a Battlefront expansion, I mean, it's just Battlefront Plus, a bunch of cool stuff. Like, especially the gameplay rework that opens up all the default blasters to be used by
Oh
all
my
the different
God, yeah.
factions. Yeah. And oh, it's like I can finally use a DC-15 as a rebel, or you can use the,
And the
you,
stats are all unique too, as opposed to just
yes,
being the exact same across the board. Um, I mean, that was such a big thing for me, especially because it's like all those default blasters were like the iconic ones,
hmm
I mean, God, like the E11, you could only use as a stormtrooper, and it was the base assault weapon, which was a decent weapon in itself. But then they added the E11D, which was just it had the exact same stats as the default assault blaster, except you could put attachments on it to make it even better. It's like, well, why even have the like why even consider the default option for anything other than just cool factor, I suppose.
right. That's what I end up doing a lot of the time. Is anytime I'm usually just using the default weapons because at least in co-op where I can find a game, it's pretty they're pretty easy to use. And speaking of finding a game, were you able to log on during Battlefront 2 Resurgence Day?
I didn't really bother. Uh,
No, me neither.
I mean,
I didn't have a
I don't
chance.
play on I don't play on vanilla servers. I haven't played on vanilla servers in years. Um, which is funny because I think I've heard of like whatever hacker group it is has tried impersonating me on there. It's like I haven't been on the vanilla servers in like 4 years.
Right. I mean, I remember what is it? The private server client, Kyber.
Yeah.
That's a big, I think, draw for a reason to play on Battlefront 2 on PC is so you can essentially still play multiplayer, but with all this extra cool
With the new
stuff added in.
content and
Yeah.
without the hackers and having a server browser. Oh my God.
Yeah, right. Just like super, sometimes just basic things, and yet like there's still no like really stats page.
Yeah.
in vanilla Battlefront 2. You can't like say, oh, what's my kill death ratio? How many kills has this character gotten? It's just not available.
Yeah.
Um, I have to ask, who's your favorite hero to develop?
To develop, probably Marin.
Yeah,
Um,
what's that?
Overall, I would say she's easily the one that I was the most proud of. Um, I've certainly took things further than I ever had in regards to uh, blueprint editing and all that stuff. I made something that uh, it was very interesting to develop with the power level and having that level up the other abilities and then um, getting things to work with the star cards and all that. I mean, it's just it's stuff that is pretty simple in gameplay, but the development that it took to get it there, especially because like I had done some blueprint editing stuff uh over the course of like the year prior to that when I started Ventress, and then when I went and made star cards for all the new heroes by that point for V6.
Mhm.
But Marin is where I really started to take off with more complicated ability logic that I was really able to do something special. Hunter was also really fun to make. Um, it,
Hunter's really fun to play.
yeah, I'm really happy with how he turned out. It was so funny because Blue, of course, had made the assets for Hunter, and he was hoping to get him in as a new hero, and I was a bit standoffish about it because it's like another clone hero is like, what am I even gonna do? It's like I don't know, but um, I really wanted the repeater from Dark Forces as a new blaster because I could do something really cool with that, where you had this slow firing tri-shot mode from the hip, but it was this fast firing repeater when zoomed in, which sounds really simple, but and I mean logic wise it really is, but there's not something that dynamically just fire rate like that in the game. Uh, but in any case, I really wanted that as a new blaster, and that became the DF95. But I needed somebody to make the assets for it, obviously.
Mhm.
And so I went to Blue Nate and I'm like, okay, I've got a proposition for you. You make the gun, and I'll make the hero. I'll make the hero that you want, and you make the gun that I want. And a lot of people consider that to be really silly, like an uneven trade. And it's like, oh no, I trust me, I really wanted this. I really, really wanted to get that weapon in. And when it came to developing Hunter, um, we were we were a bit stuck on the process for quite a bit, just not knowing what to do with them. Again, I mean, that exact sort of thing that I was afraid of is like, what am I even going to do with yet another clone hero? It's like, okay, well, he's got the knife, but where do you go from there? Um, and then just one weekend, uh, just bam, 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 ideas back to back. Got the whole kit figured out, and I had it all finished in a weekend, and he turned out really well. Uh, so it was fun to work on him because after being stuck in the brainstorming phase for longer than I would have liked, um, all of a sudden it's just like the floodgate opened, and we had someone that was pretty new and interesting and fun.
Yeah, how did you kind of figure out how to balance those heroes? Because you added so much in, and reinforcements heroes weapons and star cards that I imagine there's a lot to both playtest, but also try to figure out how to make sure things aren't too overpowered. Like when
Yeah, I mean,
Anakin first came
obviously,
out.
yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, obviously, I didn't always get it right. I mean, right now in like the current uh, whatever beta that's publicly available on the Kyber testing right now, uh, the BG-38 has this like multi-shot attachment that is just completely overpowered, and it's like, oh my God, I I quit modding right after I implemented that, and boy, was that a mistake. And I know that's getting resolved in whatever's going to be up next. Uh, but I mean, the big thing that always kept things largely consistent, in my eyes, was trying to make sure that things still balanced out with the vanilla characters and weapons and such. Like, I didn't want to be this situation where you're basically at a disadvantage just for picking a vanilla character or something like that. You know, this should feel like an expansion and not just, oh, well, here's all of our stuff and here's the vanilla stuff, but it's not as good, right?
Yeah,
Um,
the game.
so that was always that was always the um I mean, what would you call it? That was
The
always
goal.
sort of the sort of standard. Yeah, like the standard really that I tried to meet is like this should fit well amongst the vanilla characters, and if you can do that, then everything else should fall into place. A big thing as well is that with any change that I made, with every addition that was brought, like I had basically everything in mind all at once, if that makes sense. It wasn't just like, I was working on a character and thinking about them in isolation. It was every vanilla character and
Right. How
every
did they fit
additional
into the
character,
game?
every change that I made in terms of balancing, and as well as like every weapon and star card that was added, every reinforcement that was added, every other hero that was added. It just everything um, was kept in mind. And so nothing was worked on, balanced, and implemented in isolation. It was all cohesive in my uh, development.
Was there anything you think you had to compromise on almost?
I was working on a Hellfire droid at one point. Had to
Oh,
scrap that.
wow.
It got pretty far along too, but it didn't quite work out. It was interesting. We you it was a heavily modified droideka, and we had the just the wheels turning, with the body staying stationary. Um, it was pretty far along. It was really really cool. I was really disappointed that we couldn't get it implemented, because the problem with it was that um it would get it would get stuck in like little crevices because we couldn't
Oh,
make
the hitbox.
yeah, it was weird because I couldn't just simply make the hitbox bigger. It was like I would like it was like I mean, how do I explain this?
Like you couldn't make the collision of it bigger. So I imagine on a map, like my first
Well,
thought
like
for Hellfire Droid is Geonosis. There's all those kind of like dips and valleys and tunnels over on the when you're facing the big droid ship over to the left of the map. And I can imagine, yeah, it just gets stuck.
It would,
And
yeah. The thing is, like, I was able to make the collision itself bigger, so you couldn't like fit down the hallway like a Droideka could, but it still kept that like center point as like anything beyond what was the normal size would slip, um, which sort of makes sense. It's like if you have like one wheel hanging off a cliff, you're going to slide off the cliff.
right.
However, it was if you were in like one of those like little trenches on Geonosis, you weren't getting out. You were just kind of like constantly hanging because I guess it'd be like your center of gravity would still only ever
It wouldn't
be like that
change.
normal size, uh, in terms of like its own collision.
Mm,
But what you could run into was bigger. What you could stand on, what you could sit on was not. And that part would constantly get stuck in like little trenches and such, or like it was a nightmare on Felucia because of the plants and such. It just ultimately it was something that wasn't going to work out. Um, so that got cut. I was sad.
was there anything you were kind of whacking away at, just like trying to get it to work, and then finally it did?
Um, Definitely at some point. Um, I have to think. I know there is absolutely something. Um, let's see. Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of anything at the moment. Obviously, I've been kind of removed from
Right.
uh that environment
Yeah.
for a bit now.
Why'd you step away?
So I'm just drinking some water.
You're good. I'll do the same.
Mm, I can edit this part out. Um, no, I mean it was getting in the way of the things I need to be doing with my life for far too long by that point. It was a major distraction, and ultimately that cost me something. Um, Instead of focusing on developing a career and on hanging out with the people that I loved, I was very narrowly focused on just working on these projects, and there was the added pressure because of trying to meet like certain deadlines that were, you know, getting pushed back over and over again at the last minute. So I was working towards it and it got pushed back, and I was working towards it and it got pushed back. Um, I ended up getting way too focused on that, not doing the things that I needed to be doing, and well, um, I certainly paid dearly for that.
Mm.
So
Um,
it was more or less it was just a distraction that I needed to let go.
yeah. I'm sorry to hear that. You did create some incredible mods when you were in the scene, I will say. Cause after I came to college, I didn't have the access to a PC that could run Frosty,
Mm.
so I would just keep kind of checking the engineering Discord every now and then, trying to see, they're adding in Dagan Gera from Jedi Survivor. Oh, they're going to add in this gun from Knights of the Old Republic. Oh, they're doing Padme and Ventress, and all this cool stuff's coming out. So it just felt like still very cool to follow along. But I understand why you had to make uh, that decision. Speaking of decision, when you're loading in to Battlefront, what class are you playing? Assault, heavy, officer, specialist?
I switch all the time.
Yeah.
Vanilla, pretty much always assault. Um, Maybe a bit of heavy. But in In Battlefront Plus, I'm always switching. All the new weapons and cards and such make the troopers way more interesting, way more fun. Um,
Especially the sidearms that you get for all the
yeah.
other classes besides the officer.
Well, and then I was finally able to do something for the officer with the binocs, so that was fun.
Yes. Yeah, the scout binoculars or the isn't there one where you can call in like a smaller orbital strike or
Yeah,
something
a proton
similar?
torpedo. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's still very cool stuff, and it makes the base classes so much more dynamic than they are in the vanilla game. And
Yeah.
it just feels like, okay, I'm playing this guy till I can get about 1,000 or so battle points, and then I can just ball out as a super battle droid or something else.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I always felt like the troopers were very underappreciated in the vanilla game. And I mean that was really the part that interests me most. I mean, you look at the history of this series from the OGs to the reboots, troopers were very much the center of attention.
They're your
These
bread and
were,
butter.
yeah, like these were the really the only games that you were getting out of Star Wars that were focused on just the sort of everyday soldier of
Yes.
the various factions. Battlefront 2 2017 was the first time that there was really a big emphasis on um, heroes. I mean, I guess 2015 to
I feel
an
like
extent as well.
2005 has them, but they're kind of more like kill streaks almost. Where it's like if you're
Yeah.
doing the best in the server, you get like the option to play as a Jedi or, a
Yeah.
bounty hunter, yes or no. But there's no like reinforcement system in the battle point. What do you think about the battle point system?
I don't like it.
Yeah.
I mean, like it is what it is. Um, but I, at the end of the day, I really wish that the reboots followed more in the steps of their predecessors, which, ironically enough, fall in the steps of the people who made the reboots. I mean, the originals
Right.
were very much inspired
It's
by the
circular
Battlefront
in that way.
games,
Yeah.
and then it's like, hey, the guys that make Battlefield, which inspired the original Battlefronts, are now making a rebooted Battlefront series. It's like, oh, great. And then it wasn't anything like that. I was very much turned off from 2015 by that. Um, and
2017 was
2017,
better, in my opinion. It,
2017, I didn't even bother giving a try until Geonosis, and then that still didn't hook me because I just didn't like Galactic Assault. I
I
mean, Galactic
think
Assault and Geonosis was cool and all, but I just do not like that mode. I wanted Conquest, and then we got Capital Supremacy, and that still just wasn't really
yeah.
hitting what I was looking for. It really wasn't. I gave the game a few tries, and it just did not hook me. And then I don't know. I finally decided to give it one more try after we got the Droidicas and the TX-130, and I was like, okay, this is the last time I'm going to give this game a chance. And
That
at
was a
that
banger
point,
update.
yeah, somehow that was what finally hooked me. And then there came the reveal that we're getting Clone Commandos, Felucia, co-op,
It's an
instant
action.
action, and it's like, oh my God, what an insane
This is the game
announcement!
fully baked. Like this is
Yeah,
what it feels like if they maybe because I remember at launch, I feel like the reason that they in at least Galactic Assault they let you play as any hero from
was
any
because there
era,
was just so little
there weren't
content.
enough.
Yeah,
There weren't enough. Yeah, like if it was just okay, only prequel heroes for the Clone Wars maps, you're only getting Yoda or
yeah,
Darth Maul,
you
and
get
that's
Yoda
it.
Mall.
You'll have Yoda and you'll like it, but
Yeah,
then you have the original.
I've been saying exactly that for years, that the reason that Crosshair existed to begin with was because there were just too few heroes for them to justify uh locking them down.
I see why
Nobody
they
else
had to
agrees
make
with
that
me.
decision. I see why they came to that decision, just to like Because I do think there is something like crosshair heroes can be fun, but oh man, I would have just loved it if they had just a little bit more time and they were able to add in Ahsoka and Ventress. That would have
Well,
been.
and again, it's like uh, you know, 2017 had a way bigger emphasis on heroes than any other game in the series. Troopers really were taking a backseat. Uh,
Yeah, you had like all the star cards and stuff. So at least now with co-op, it's like okay, you can go level up in co-op, and then you can come back to multiplayer when you're all kitted out with, purple legendary star cards. But I think what it did was and even in the beginning, like you had to buy heroes, like you couldn't play Darth Vader without like spending like 40,000 credits or something like
oh
that.
yeah, yeah, you had
Yeah,
to unlock them, and it was just like a crazy
which people
grind to
fucking
do that.
hated. That
Yeah,
was the like I think that was the people always talk about the loot boxes, but like forget about that, and like that's why. I mean the loot box system, like it really was. I mean,
it's insane that they thought that they could get away with that. I mean, like,
it
I
came just in the middle of games as a service to be where it's like, okay, we're not going to do the season pass anymore like we did with Battlefront 2015, but we're going to have all these microtransactions so you can drop some money and you can skip and buy a skin
and
or
loot boxes are just everything. Loot boxes were just what every game was doing at that point to
just following
support
trends.
itself. Yeah, and you know,
It was before
it,
Fortnite
it
became
did,
huge with battle
yeah,
passes too.
and it did feel like about that time, uh, people were starting to get fed up with loot boxes because of the, um, they're not super rewarding. It's not very. I mean, it's like I remember I was into Overwatch for a bit, not nearly as much as my friends, but for a bit, and it was just always so dissatisfying. It's like, okay, finally I got a loot box. Oh, and it's a sticker
Right.
for or a spray,
It's
whatever,
just some
for a
garbage.
character that I never play. Like,
Right. Something you
great. Like
absolutely don't want. And it's built that way. It's built to give you the thing that you don't want, but maybe something that you kind of like and like, oh. And so
Yeah,
it incentivizes, let's put more money into the slot machine, see what comes out. But I remember the
and
update for Battlefront 2 where they finally came out with a progression system. Okay, you just play and level up your character. Like,
mhm.
I think that was the turning point for Battlefront 2 as like a live service. Because before that, it was just like, gotta gamble on these loot boxes, and there
Yeah, and
still
obviously they
weren't
removed
any new
the.
heroes or any new maps yet besides Crate and two ports from. Actually, one new map from Solo, I think Kessel.
It was Castellio.
Yeah, sorry, Kessel, forgot about you.
Wasn't that
But
after the progression update though? I don't know. I didn't play the game at that point. I
maybe
didn't
it
even
was
know that.
after. I don't.
But
I can't remember.
it was just like I feel like about that time people were starting to get fed up with the loot box system. That it was just kind of this powder keg, and then Battlefront really uh just blew the lid off by tying it so closely
It
with the
was
progression.
it was progression. Like there was
Yeah,
no other form, and so it's like I
like that was
remember
it.
trying to play Starfighter Assault, and I felt like those cards were the most rare because starting when they finally had it, like just play and level up, I had the least amount of cards for my Star. But I think you could almost like pick. Okay, you can get like a Trooper loot box for this price or a Hero loot box for this price. I don't remember if there was one for vehicles though.
I mean, I think it was like you could get, was it like credits or crystals or whatever it was,
Crystals, yeah, that was like the
uh,
paid currency.
to like get the loot boxes that like um, would get you more sort of generally what you wanted, but still not like what you were specifically playing as or anything like that. And in order to even get that currency to begin with, you had to get them out of other loot boxes. Um,
They didn't even add
it's just
skins yet.
nope.
Like that was
So
enabled by mods initially. Like, oh, you can pick your clone trooper. Um, but then I remember a bunch of people getting when that mod finally broke before the appearance update launched. They a lot of people were forced as to playing like the you remember like the Kashyyyk clones with just the green stripe.
oh my
Um,
God, they're so
yeah,
ugly.
yeah. Um, they launch that appearance thing, and then they have a bunch of other ones that are like the 91st and the 327th, and they're all like they don't look quite right. Like
Yeah.
the 327th, I think, was using the wrong colors. And then around that time, there was a screenshot used in one of the community transmissions where it very clearly had a droideka in the
hmm
background, and then they tried to gaslight everybody by saying, "Oh no, that's like that's a
Crash
speeder,
speeder.
that's a crash speeder." That's
Yeah.
what? Why? Just I want to be like, "Oh yeah, surprise."
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know. Maybe it was like, maybe it was kind of like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge sort of thing.
I guess it's pretty funny in hindsight. No,
Yeah.
like because they did add them in eventually, but just that whole time frame, people were questioning like, is this game going to continue? Like I didn't know until they finally announced. I think like it was a community transmission that tied in with E3. They had like, okay, we're going to do something similar to like Conquest from the original ones. It's like,
And
oh,
capital ship takedowns, and
yeah. Which
that was when
I
they announced Anakin, Obi-Wan, Grievous, Dooku. Um,
it was like we're gonna have some fire content for you. It's just over a year after the game came out.
that was when I
But
started paying attention to the game again. I mean, I was kind of like following it, getting up to launch. So, I mean, I remember seeing the initial trailer, and I mean, I was so let down by 2015 that when the reveal for 2017 came out, I was just like, okay, I mean, I'm gonna wait and see until we get some gameplay and such, and then um, I tried out the open beta, and I was like, this is not for me. I like I really enjoyed Starfighter Assault, and Strike was kind of fun. Galactic Assault, I hated it. It was so
yeah,
I
Galactic Assault is hit or miss, depending because just the
to this
objectives are so
day, like
varied.
it's like it could work, but the maps are just there's a choke point fetish, and there's like zero verticality and
I
such.
think the mode you
Um,
do, like the co-op mode, where you're like pushing or defending, like that can just be the Galactic Assault. I don't know why, Battlefield 1 comes out, I think a year before, and
mhm.
they have the behemoths, like a dreadnought's joining the British.
Yeah.
Like, why not just do a similar thing with the droids are bringing in a big brown MTT?
Mm.
There's a lot of things that, like, I think you could just directly translate, like that campaign that they did where it's like, oh,
Yeah, no,
you're
I
an
feel like the war
imperial and you're gonna be,
stories.
yeah, like war
I feel
stories
like
where you
war
have all
stories would
these
have been pretty
varied
interesting to bring into. I mean, especially
perspectives.
because, like, this game they were doing the prequel era and the originals and the sequels,
Sequels and
and it's like you could have, yeah, it would have been really cool if they did the approach that they did for Battlefield 1 and 5, where you had like a bunch of like smaller campaigns that focused on just telling the story just of these just like
it's
average
like 3 to 4
guys.
missions each, and you have one where you're like a pilot, an American pilot, another where you're, a British tank operator, one where you're like,
Hmm
rising up in jihad in the desert against the Ottomans, like all these varied
Where
campaigns,
you're
and
working with
that I
uh
still remember. Like I can still recall certain moments from those campaigns. I don't remember any bit of gameplay about Battlefront 2017's campaign, just because it was so the story was like, oh, okay, I guess we're rebels now. Like I kind of wanted to be an evil, imperial bastard till the end, but
yeah.
it didn't deliver on what it said it was going to do.
The only entertainment God, I can't speak. The only entertainment that I got out of the 2017 campaign was I got this funny glitch where starting with Naboo and just persisting until the end of the game, um, there is no gravity for the ragdolls and such. And so whenever
Or they
like
just
debris,
collapsed.
it was just like whenever like debris would explode and stormtroopers would die and such, they would just like float off into the sky and such. But yeah, no, I didn't like that campaign at all. It was pretty boring.
Yeah, it's like the fact that for me, Battlefront, I played the shit out of Battlefront 2 at launch, so much so that it affected my grades my sophomore year, and my parents had to like kind of ground me from video games almost. Um, but by 2020, when it's like the pandemic or whatever, and they're finally releasing Scarif, it's like the game. It's felt complete for a while, but it feels like okay, this is the peak, like a Battlefront 2. Like, please keep going, and it's the last update. Seriously, like,
Yeah.
and then they can't do like you can't fight on a Star Destroyer and capital supremacy, or you can't fight on a Mon Calamari cruiser, and just all these things that they say they have had concepts and ideas for, and even some like I think there were Ahsoka voice lines in the game for a solid year, right?
Uh, there were so
Not
when
like
they
her, but people
yeah, no.
referring to her.
When they got Matt Wood in I don't know if they recorded lines for they probably did for the other localizations. But points when they brought in uh people to voice Grievous, uh on the off chance that they ever got to make Padme and Ahsoka, they recorded uh interaction lines because you know you don't want it to be in a situation where like, oh, actually we did get a chance to work on them. Oh, okay, well now we gotta bring the guy back to
Right.
record and not just not just one voice actor, but a voice actor for every single localization. So you gotta
And
bring all
every
these
single
people back.
character, because every
So
single
it's like,
character has an interaction.
well, not every single one, but like
Do they not? Oh.
especially not no, especially not for the post-launch ones. But it was just like they had him there as like, hey, on the just in case we ever get to do these characters, let's just you know get some interaction lines and then put that in there. And if nothing comes of it, then it's whatever. If we do get the chance, it's a hell of a lot easier than having to reschedule or not reschedule, but just try and get all these people back. God knows how much later. Try and get that to fit into their schedules, and obviously have to pay way more, um, as opposed to just getting them to record like 4 to 6 extra lines while they're already there. Um, but God, I mean, there's such a long-standing myth that like the ISB agent is like reusing Padme's face and Ahsoka's animations. It's completely fabricated.
Yeah, it doesn't
Um,
look anything like Padme.
it
That
does,
makes
yeah.
no
One, it
sense.
doesn't look anything like Padme. Two, that face, that head model has been in the game since launch. I think since 2015 as well. They just retextured it to add the scar and I think make it a little more tan.
Mm.
But yeah, no, it's not Padme. It doesn't look anything like Natalie Portman. And it's been there forever. It's not her. And as for animations supposedly being reused from Ahsoka, they're not. We managed to uh how do I put this? I think it was Battle Dash managed to get like some dump of like every um animation name in the asset banks or whatever. Whatever like the technical phrasing of it would be, because that's the side of things that I didn't understand. Um, but something that we did discover from that is originally DICE was seemingly going to have a playable astromech as the rebel infiltrator instead of the Ewok. And
Oh man, I would
the
have preferred that so much more.
yeah, and it's
The
like you can
Ewok's
find in
fun. The
there.
Ewok is fun though.
I do like the Ewok, yeah. And I mean, you can even see in there, like it's not just like the animations for the little droid that they cut from the game. Um, it's like actual like playable animations, including like a jetpack animation or the jet thrusters. The thing is that those animations are used for the Ewok hunter, the one with the bow and arrow, because um, I guess while they were working on the astromech, eventually they decided to change course and make the Ewok instead, and just simply use what they already had set up and just use different animations, but keep that set that they already had there. I guess from a programming perspective, it was probably easier. Um,
I
but
I imagine they did it because that was introduced as like an I guess infiltrator. I think in like the second to last update, and
yeah,
so I imagine EA was saying, "Hey, you guys got to wrap this up. The story goes, and we need to put you on Battlefield 2042," which I think
oof,
everyone
everyone
in
considers a
Battlefront
mistake.
hates
Everyone in
that
Battlefront,
decision.
everyone in Battlefield for sure.
Yeah, that game is reviled. Which makes sense because I think there's some fun parts to it, like the weapon attachment swapping and the wingsuit and stuff like that. But you had to sacrifice my baby essentially.
I mean,
But
like Battlefront 2 got gutted for it, Battlefield 5 got gutted for it, and then we just got a game that fundamentally was not Battlefield. Uh, and I think they learned then and there that like Battlefield isn't just going to sell every single time that it comes out like Call of Duty does. It's like you need to
no,
actually deliver. Um,
there are expectations when you're a Battlefield game. There are expectations when you're a Battlefront game. Like I imagine whenever they
like Call of
announce
Duty is
it,
like fast food.
yeah, it's
Battlefield is like,
fun, but I feel like kind of disgusted after
yeah.
I like binge through a Call of Duty campaign. Um, Not saying that anyone who or the campaigns are bad or anything, but
I mean, some of them
you
are,
know, Battlefront
but
3, I feel like is going when it gets announced. I imagine in my lifetime it will get announced. If not, I will die a sad man.
dude, we're never getting Battlefront 3. We're
It's
never
gonna
getting
happen.
Titanfall.
It's gonna happen.
We're never getting it. We're never getting Titanfall 3. We're never uh like it's not happening. I
Watch
will
them be
bet money
like,
on
we're
that.
gonna do it's Star Wars Battlefront, like
But it's rebooted
2029.
again. It's rebooted again.
Yeah, it's like the okay, now we're on the third Star Wars Battlefront one. Like they just need to pick the number three at this point and just okay, like because I think there's some parts you can take from Battlefront 2 and like expand them. Like I think the reinforcement system is super cool, especially like when you finally added in like the commandos and the ARC troopers.
Mhm.
But battle points, I don't know. I'm like 50-50 on because I feel like it's fun. It rewards like you playing well and staying alive, but it increases the disparity of like the haves and the have-nots. But I also think at the same time, if you're shit at Battlefront 2, like yeah, you got to work to get the hero. It's not like an easy thing. I mean, it is easy, but I guess for some it might not be.
Yeah. But the to go back a little bit, the reason I was mentioning the stuff with the astromech becoming the Ewok is that those like the names of those assets were still astromech, even though they got reused for the Ewok. The ISB agent, that's not the case. If they were Ahsoka's animations, they believe me, they would have been named. They would have had Ahsoka in the name.
Right.
And then we can even back that up as well with the fact that um it was the lead hero designer, I think it was, went into the chat of some like YouTube stream a while back and talked about how after Scarif they were planning to prototype Ahsoka and Ventress and talked about what abilities they were considering for them. And so it's just, that's showing it's like that's when they were going to start prototyping, you know, that stuff it wouldn't have been in there yet. They wouldn't have been working on it yet.
No, it's from what it sounds like, it was super early on in that production when they got
If it had
moved
started
to
at
that
all.
team. I gotta ask though, if Battlefront 3 ever gets announced, like what's your number one thing you want in it?
Um,
Could be a character, a gun, something super obscure.
no, I multi-seat vehicles
Yeah,
that
that would
are
be
on the
nice.
map instead of basically being treated as kill streaks. I don't like how vehicles are like
Vehicles
I'm
suck.
not particularly fond of the battle point system to begin with, and I think it's really bad when it gets to vehicles. I feel like vehicles should have a more sort of like team oriented role where, you're able to provide armor to your nearby allies and break through enemy lines and such. Um, you're protected and can hit really hard, but you're also vulnerable to, I mean, basically, what I would want out of vehicles is really what you get in Battlefield. Uh,
Yeah, Battlefield's that marriage of like, okay, we have infantry combat, we have vehicle combat, and we have aerial combat, and that's what I want. That's my thing for like that. I want to be
mhm.
able to, I'm on, the fucking, I'm on the beaches of Kashyyyk. I go over and I hop in an LAAT. A couple of my buddies get in it. We go up.
You're right.
Still a battle on the ground, and there's some like vehicle. I don't know if you can do a turbo tank, a juggernaut, because those things are huge. But like you have the
Oh
snails,
God, yeah,
all
no,
that stuff, and
maybe if they had like the behemoth system from Battlefield
yeah,
1,
yeah.
I mean, you mentioned that earlier. It's like that actually would have been really
But
cool.
then I also think still the behemoth system like that would be the biggest behemoth because those things even in Battlefront 2 are still huge. Like you need to go up like 3 flights of stairs, I think, to just
Yeah,
get
pretty
inside and
much.
blow them up.
Yeah. So, um, I mean, more than anything, I wish there was more of an emphasis on like, making it basically Star Wars Battlefield. Not that it has to be like a one-to-one copy or just like
Right.
completely derivative or anything like that. But and I realize the irony just with how many new heroes and such that I've made, but I really feel like the heart of the Battlefront series is the trooper combat. That's
I
where
mean,
it
you
started.
expanded on that the most. Like the new heroes are great, and the new reinforcements are great. But what you added to the trooper classes with the sidearms and the star cards and all of those weapons, like I think each one got like what 10 plus something like that, and they're all unique and fun to use and do something different than the other. Like
Yeah.
that I think Battlefront Plus is like that's its my favorite aspect to that mod is how it adds and expands on well, I mean honestly every aspect of Battlefront too.
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me just fine?
Yeah, my connection just like died for a moment there.
Okay, no worries.
Um, but I know you were mentioning that like obviously there is a pretty big emphasis with the rework part of Battlefront Plus that expands the trooper combat a lot. Um, because I mean again, it's just like looking back at where the series got its start. It's like in 2004, you could only play as a trooper, you know. I mean they had the
You got
jet
one
trooper,
gun and you were gonna like
Retica,
it.
but you didn't get to play as the heroes. You had uh
They were there, but you couldn't play as them.
yeah, it was just a bot that was completely
Invincible.
invincible and it would just walk up to you and smack you and that was that.
That was it. The only way to
Um
kill them was to land a
knock
ship
them
on
off the
them or
edge.
knock them off the edge on Bespin platforms,
Yeah.
which that's, in my opinion, I still think the best map in the Battlefront franchise. Like I think Battlefront 2004 is where the map design peaks in
I
the
agree.
series.
Yeah.
Because like Yavin Arena, you got the first Geonosis map and Camino and all these, just they're so fun. And Battlefront 2, oh, it's like a little smaller, and then Battlefront 2015 is like, okay, you're just moving through like
I
a
am not
chunk
a
of a bit map at a time, and it's ugh.
I'm not a fan of 2005's maps. Um,
Yeah, most of
like
the ones they add are like kind of just okay. I think like okay, my Megiddo and Felucia and the Tantive maps are all super cool. But then you and how it expands on space of like you being able to
yeah,
go and land in, and like that's such a cool concept. Like that's something I would love to see expanded on in Battlefront 3 of like okay, like it's the Battlefront. You're
you're
fighting on
getting
a
your
whole.
hopes up, man.
I know.
It's
I'm never gonna get. I believe. I pray to the Battlefront Jesus that someday I'm gonna get my dream Battlefront game. But with that being said, I still think with like the die that was cast, Battlefront 2017 was everything I wanted it to end up being. I still love that game, and I've logged over hundreds of hours into it. I think almost 1,000 on Origin alone, or EA Play, or whatever it's called now. Like that game is special, but like it's like it's gonna be like it's like Half Life 3. Like it's gonna be a meme forever of like this is never coming out.
are we gonna get like a VR game for it randomly, like a a decade or whatever down the line?
I mean, that would be kind of cool, but I think they already did like a VR mission in 2015. I think it's called like Rogue One, like X-Wing VR or something.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I do have one more final question for you, Spartan. If you,
mm,
how do you think modding has and will continue to affect Battlefront 2's legacy?
hmm. It's hard to say almost. I feel like a lot of the game's community still isn't even really aware that modding has gotten so big. Um, I mean, even with like some of the some of the stuff that I've posted on my channel, showing off uh new characters and the community updates, the teaser trailers and whatnot. And there'll be people who are or who go like, oh, so it's just like reskins and such. And it's like, no, it's completely new content. Um, but that, the popularity of it aside, I mean, I feel like it's an interesting story because everyone has their opinion on how things should have gone with the game's uh life cycle, that it should have gone on longer. It's simply not been gutted for 2042 of all things.
Right.
And I don't know, I feel like you don't really see a modding community like this for other games almost. Um just in the sense of how it's tried to um keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible with the tools and expand upon the game in the sense of like, what could this game have been if it kept going? Um, I mean, perhaps I'm speaking ignorantly, but when I say that, I don't know if there are any really other modding communities that are like that.
Right.
Um,
I don't know either,
I
but
mean, I mean,
having followed the
certainly,
community, you're correct in saying that everything was pushing a boundary. Because I mean, I think the original Frosty developer, Galaxy Man, I think he ended up getting hired by Dice.
Yeah, yeah, he got hired by Dice, and then Cade, uh, who took up the mantle after Galaxy Man, went to work for what's it called, Maxis, the guys that make The Sims.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think they made Spore too.
and um, I mean, and then, I mean, there's Baldash. He doesn't even. I mean, he wasn't a Frosty developer. He developed Kyber, but he got picked up by EA shortly after I quit modding. It's kind of a funny little double whammy there, I suppose. It's like I left for personal reasons, and he left for basically to
Right.
try and get my career going, and he left because he was getting his career going. Uh, so it's just funny how things work out like that, I suppose. Um, I mean, certainly, I mean, especially if you look at like uh like the Bethesda modding communities, how they push boundaries and such. It's far beyond what Frosty is capable of for sure.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Um, but I do think it's interesting. It's a very interesting and unique scenario with Battlefront 2 because of how it sort of brought people together into this, like, like how can we keep this game going and keep it alive? And especially with it being multiplayer, uh, it's a whole different thing there where you're talking about like, especially in tandem with Kyber, it's like, you know, what can we do to bring this game back and make it almost in a sense of like what it deserved to be?
Hmm.
Not in this sort of like entitled uh sort of feeling of like, oh, the game needed to be what I wanted it to be, and it needed to have like 20 million different heroes, and so it's just like, you
What the
know,
game itself deserved to be without being
yeah.
shut down by. I get what you're saying. Because, I mean, essentially, I imagine, financially or whatever, it probably wasn't doing too well. So that's probably another reason why they, pulled the plug on life support. But
Yeah, I mean, like if you really think about it, it's like when you're looking at uh 2042 and the ideas that they had going into it, it's like, look, like, okay, like Battlefield is like the poster child of EA, right? And okay, everyone's doing live service battle royales. All right, well, we're gonna do a live service battle royale, and everyone's doing heroes. We're gonna do heroes and such. It was very much a
right,
trend chaser, and under the Battlefield name,
I completely forgot about their
eh,
battle royale. Oh my
eh,
goodness.
yeah, everyone did.
Was it called
And
Firestorm?
no, that was Battlefield 5. I don't know what the hell they
Oh,
called 2042.
2042 had one?
It was something because they like pivoted at one point because that
My
was like
goodness.
the source of that was such a source of the problems with the game is that they were trying to make this like battle royale battlefield game. That's where the specialists or whatever they're called come from. And then they suddenly turned it around like, okay, it's gonna be like a full-fledged regular battlefield title, and then obviously it just wasn't. Um, but I mean you know again, it's like this is like the poster child of EA, and it's a big trend chaser for a bunch of trends that are really popular. And uh, so I guess on paper, to the corporate executives and all that and investors, it's like, oh, we got the money in the bag. Boy, did they not.
No.
Because that's just not
I,
what people are expecting of a Battlefield game. It was not a Battlefield game. Um,
no,
and so it's like it really like it makes like from a business standpoint, it makes sense why support got cut. it's just really tragic because there's so much more that could have been done with the game,
Right.
and what it lost its support for was something that just
Wasn't
totally
worth it.
failed.
Yeah, it wasn't worth
Like
it.
it
Battlefield
wasn't
fans didn't
worth
like
it for the
it.
community, and it wasn't even worth it for the
It didn't attract
developers.
anyone
And
new. Are they still updating it?
I don't think so. I mean, they're all in on like working on the new Battlefield.
Battlefield 6.
That's probably what it's going to be.
Yeah. I've
Maybe
seen some of the
Battlefield 3.
leaked alpha footage and it looks kind of cool. Um,
I I played. I got to play in a labs test session. Obviously, I can't speak on
mhm.
that because it's under NDA.
Right.
What I can speak of is what they have publicly posted about with their class system. It's like it's just the 2042 classes with extra steps. Like if it stays like that, I'm not buying the game. Full
Mm.
stop. Um,
Like the classes have kind of wacky gadgets or
it's they once again did not class lock the weapons.
oh,
And they just went
what?
with the weapon proficiency system. And oh my God, like I don't know. I don't remember everything that was in the post, so I don't want to speak on it too much. Because if I go on speaking about it long enough, then I'll probably end up talking about stuff that was in the pre-alpha. And even though there's all that leaked footage and such, it's like
Right. You know,
still
yeah, I gotcha.
yeah.
You signed an
I,
NDA. Let's not, get you in trouble here with a
yeah,
international
right. Well, I mean,
corporation.
all that would happen is I would never be invited to testing again. But
No, yeah, it's not a big deal. Every now and then I get an email from I think EA Redwood or something saying, "Hey, we have this like one thing, like come try it out."
but
Um,
yeah, no, if they need to uh they need to reassess what they're doing with the classes because uh I don't think a lot of people are very happy about it. That doesn't seem to be the general impression.
yeah, the feedback I've
For
seen
me,
hasn't been positive on the not locking certain weapons to certain classes.
yeah.
So, but
For
it
me,
was the
I
same
can
thing the last time. So I wonder,
yeah.
like, okay, this is the direction we want to take the series in. We're gonna do it whether or not people like it, or
And
if it's
I'm
just
not
like
gonna
they're
go
not
in
paying attention.
I'm not gonna go on rage about it or anything like that. It's like
Right.
I've said my piece about it. I didn't buy 2042, and if things stay like this for this game, I'm not gonna buy it either. I've got more important things to worry about with my life, um, than where that series is going. If it's not gonna go in the direction that I like, and you know, in my opinion, be faithful to what a Battlefield game should be, I'm just not gonna buy it. I'm not interested in what they're doing with the class system. Um,
Do you think
but
Battlefield 3 will be, if it ever gets made, would it be made by DICE or do you think some other studio?
You mean Battlefront 3?
Battlefront 3, yeah.
I think you said Battlefield 3.
I meant Battlefront 3.
Yeah. Uh, like I'm so strongly of the opinion that it's never going to happen to begin with. But if I had to give an answer other than saying it won't happen, uh, if it would be DICE or some other studio, it would be some other studio. Um,
That's what I would hedge my bet on with some other. I can't, none come to mind, but,
yeah, it's just it's not. Yeah, DICE isn't going to try their hand at that again. Because I don't think they got quite what they wanted out of 2015. Because I don't know. I don't think 2015 really retained much of a player base, did it? And so it probably didn't sell
I
much in the
can't,
season
I
pass.
can't really find any server for any of the DLC playlists, which,
Well, I mean that we're talking about like you know almost 10 years after the game came out. But I
oh my
mean like
God, right.
even through its like
That came out 10
its
years
own
ago.
life.
Oh my
Almost, yeah.
God.
Force Awakens turns 10 years old at the end of the year.
That too. That's
Um,
crazy.
but
Oh my
no, it's
God.
like
I feel so
I
much older
think
now.
I think even like through the games, like life support or life support, whatever you get what I mean. Like
Right.
when it was coming out DLCs, I don't think it had a very high player population.
It
Uh,
didn't.
I mean, I quit playing the game after 2 weeks. Or it's like I played it for a bit, and I mean, I was like 15 years old at the time, and it was kind of cool. Like, oh, I'm getting to play in Star Wars and such. Very quickly wore off for me. It's like this is
It
the
launched with
gameplay is
four
not for me.
maps for or not Galactic Assault,
Walker
Walker
Assault,
Assault. It's
and then
like
I
they have a
like
lot more now, but
uh
again, same
and I
thing.
didn't buy the season pass. I came back to try out Jakku, and I was like, oh, it's kind of neat and all. All right,
Yeah,
goodbye.
that map is. I will not lie. I do really like the Jakku map, Graveyard of Giants. That's probably, besides Cloud City, my favorite map in that game. Especially after having read the Star Wars Aftermath book trilogy that goes over the Battle of Jakku, like kind of getting context for like that huge super star destroyer crashing in the background. Like that's I will give the game that credit. It is very cinematic.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, it's not that I think that the game is like the worst thing ever or anything like that. I mean, there's certainly things I feel like it does better than its sequel, even. I feel like the aesthetic was way better. Like visually, just it was more appealing. Sound design was way better. The atmosphere, the battle beyond stuff, as they called it, I believe. Um, I mean, it felt like you were playing in a Star Wars movie, whereas 2017 was more like you're playing a Star
Star
Wars
Wars video
themed.
game, yeah.
Yeah, it feels like you're playing like a Star Wars themed video game. 2015 felt like you were in the movies. Um,
I think both games got elicited that feeling from me. Like pretty much every modern Star Wars game I have played. I haven't really played what is it, Star Wars Squadrons. Um, but even the newest like Star Wars Outlaws, like all those games, like okay, yeah, like I feel like I'm in the Star Wars universe as a thief or as a Jedi named Cal Kestis or as a clone trooper who's about to get cut in half by Darth Maul. Like all those games, I feel like most of their games have been, at least for me, successes. Like I've enjoyed them all to the degree where I feel like I got my money's worth. I feel like the biggest disappointment for myself was Star Wars Battlefront 2015, but they fixed my main complaint with it in Battlefront 2 by adding in the Clone Wars and the brand new trilogy.
yeah, but yeah, there are definitely things that I feel like 2015 for me. I feel like 2015 did better in some aspects, but gameplay definitely not.
I don't
I
like the
did not like.
gameplay.
Yeah, I
The
didn't like
pickup
2015's gameplay at
system
all.
and
Oh my God, the power-ups and
yeah,
uh it just
no
did not
classes.
no classes, and yeah, the vehicles are power-ups, the heroes are power-ups, and I don't know. It did not work for me at all. Um and then again, it's like with 2017, I didn't even get into it until after they had already added a bunch of uh like they added Droidekas, they had TX-130s, they added Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Grievous and Dooku, they had capitalist supremacy. Um Also hot take, I hate the capital ships.
That is a hot take because I disagree. I think they're so fun.
I
I love the choke points.
I really wanted just like a solid conquest experience. And I don't know, the capital ships just kind of represent like the worst things that I dislike about Galactic Assault, and it's tacked onto a mode that for the most part I otherwise like and wanted. Um
I remember staying up the night that Capital Supremacy came out for the first time. It was just on this patch of dirt in Geonosis. And the first Capital Supremacy map I ever played took over 2 hours because we
Oh my
kept it was
God.
just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And while that was really fun and very like I love that, it's like a very fond memory for me. Um, I don't think yeah, I think your point about it feeling like Galactic Salt I think is very accurate. Um,
Yeah.
but I still
And then
think
also, yeah,
it
just the
adds
fact that there's
something to it.
no just that there's no guaranteed end to the match. It's like
Yes.
I remember um one time I got stuck. It was always Kashyyyk that this would happen on. I got
Yeah,
stuck in
Kashyyyk
like
takes a while.
a three like a match that went on for over 3 hours, and um it just
There is
it
something
was
to
it was
say
stupid
about
because it
how
was like
cool that is.
it was just because we kept winning as the Republic on the ground phase, but we couldn't push through the Dreadnought because it was just three open tunnels or something like that with the spawn right next to the reactor room, and Bosk able to single-handedly lock those down. It was just
Yeah, Bosk is
like
broken.
we we couldn't push through. It was just like, what are you supposed to do? Bosk being totally broken, able to single-handedly hold these choke points, and it's just open tunnels to get to an objective with three small squares to shoot. Um,
I just think the concept of
and I
raiding
mean
an enemy
the
ship is
maps are
so cool.
designed,
But yeah, the
and
maps were
it
designed with
is,
that in
and
mind,
the thing
like
is,
forcing
Dice
choke
has.
points.
Well, I mean, what I was going to say is that the map's originally designed to have both reactor rooms open,
Oh, I
and when they
remember.
made it
Yes,
only
that as well.
one,
That became
yeah,
hell. But it was also really hard to defend.
yeah.
At the same time, two reactor rooms. Um, but yeah, I don't know. That is an interesting choice,
But
and
but
I go
but
back and forth on that.
finally the game ended when the Separatists won a single ground phase and then just completely curb stomped the Venator because the capital ships are just not well
Mm-hmm.
balanced. I always say it's like the Venator is a cakewalk and the Dreadnought is D-Day. It um it is such a pain to try and get into the Dreadnought's reactor room, whereas like you get one Droideka behind one of the reactors,
You're,
your squad just
it's
spawns in, like
done.
that's it, that's over. Like you're not getting through.
I also
You
think the
mess around,
targets are just
they're way bigger. Yeah,
they're way bigger,
you can
and
use the
it's
other targets to shoot as cover to shoot the other targets.
yeah, like
Um,
that map. I think you are right in saying that they are unbalanced, but
and I can count on one hand how many times I've seen the MC-85 get defended.
I don't think I now that I think about it, I don't think I've seen either get defended.
I've seen the Resurgent get defended a few times. I feel like the Resurgent is the only one that's actually like pretty decently balanced. Um, but the MC-85 and the
They're
Venator
both
are
fun
just way too
maps.
easy to attack. It's like no kidding, like the MC-85. I think I've seen it get defended three, maybe four times in the past 5 years that it's existed. And that's vanilla and modded.
Yeah, if only you could, freely travel between the capital ships and the ground and go to the other capital ship from
Yeah,
yours.
it's
And
like I totally get the appeal of like going into the capital ship and destroying it. And the thing is there was a working
it's so
formula.
cool. It's
Dice
so
Dice
cool.
had done it before, and I understand, that with how limited the crew was for working on Battlefront 2 post launch. It's just like circumstances are everything to it. It's not because they were lazy. It's just,
No, they're
you
full.
know,
I'm an armchair developer. I'll say it, but I have no idea how game development operates or works. But
but
knowing how much of a skeleton crew, it was impressive how much they
yeah.
added.
Um, but it's like ideally, it's like what I wish they could have done is instead follow what they did in Battlefield 2142
Right,
and
with the
Battlefield 4.
Titans.
Yes. where now, granted, I never played 2142 myself, but I'm aware
I
of
have it.
that
It's
mode's
very, very fun.
I'm aware of that mode's existence because it inspired a mode that I really liked in Battlefield 4, um, that took inspiration from that, where you had basically conquest, but you had these uh, missile launchers at each objective, and those would fire at the enemy ship and gradually reduce its health down. And so the more objectives that you held, the more the faster it would lose its health. And then at a certain threshold, the ship would open up and you could go in, and it was basically the rush game mode inside the ship.
Right. But
Um,
you also had to figure
but
out a
it's like,
way to get on the ship. You either had to
right,
launch
so you
out
had
in
you
one of
had to
those
get onto the
pods
ship.
or get dropped
You had,
off or
yeah, you had to get onto the ship, and then you had to push through and you had to attack inside. It's like even if you were making like if you succeeded in destroying the objectives on the inside, that was it. That was in the game victory. But if you weren't making any progress on the inside, the missile launchers would still be firing. So you still had to hold the objectives from the conquest section while trying to push to finish the game off inside the ship. And if you weren't careful about that as a team, the enemy could end up taking a bunch of the conquest objectives and opening up your ship. And now both ships are open, and you're still getting damage from the missile sites. It, I just that really worked in my opinion. The having to balance between, you know, attacking their ship, defending your ship, holding the objectives in the conquest section. And the thing is that in the game files, Capitalist Supremacy is named after the mode from 2142. It's named Titan
Mhm.
in some areas. Others, it's mode one, but it's like
Right.
um,
Like
but it's like
imagine
obviously there was that inspiration there, but
100%.
it,
Like
it just it didn't uh go the same way, and I really wish it did.
imagine you spawn in as Anakin. You hop in, your buddy drops down, he's in an LA-AT, you grab it and you're just holding on to the fucking railing as he's like trying to fly through the chop to get into the Providence, and it's like you hop out and you got your lightsaber and you're leading a bunch of clones fighting through the
Yeah.
hallways. It's like still having that controlled by gameplay and not be a cutscene in the middle of a multiplayer match, which I think is really interesting. I think that gives the player a lot more agency, but I still do enjoy Capital Supremacy as a mode. I think it's still my favorite online mode in Battlefront, the new Battlefront games entirely. Um, but
I know Mophead's done
yeah,
something with
he's.
it.
I've talked to him about that. His idea is super interesting of it kind of locking you out if you can't essentially blow it up successfully, which I think it can. I don't know. I haven't played it yet, so
I haven't either.
but
But
yeah,
I do like what he's got going there. Because I think it's like it works off of a ticket system now, like Battlefield Conquest, as opposed to just the percentage that you build up from the objectives. And the capital ships act as like I think what he did is like if you successfully defend your ship, then you go back to the ground phase. But if you lose the ground phase again, then that's it. It's game over.
hmm
Um, as opposed to just like going back and forth forever and ever. Again, going back to that Kashyyyk match that I mentioned earlier, it's like, we kept winning as the Republic on the ground phase, but just getting through the
right.
Dreadnought
You
wasn't
just couldn't
possible.
make it.
And the moment that we lost on the ground, the Venator was just cooked. And at a certain point as well, it's just like, I don't know, I feel like people really sort of enjoy the idea of the capital ships, but once like once there's a successful defense of the capital ship, people are just like, okay, please just like let the next one win because we don't want to be here forever.
Right. We don't want to be in a 4-hour long. I wonder. I'm really curious to wonder what the record of like length.
Oh my god, that's an interesting question.
Oh, probably at least 5 hours plus. But Spartan, thank you so much for your time and joining the show today. I had a great time with you. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you all next week.